This is episode number 13, lucky number 13 of the Full Dashclosure audiobook and podcast. And I'm here with one of my most favorited YouTube content creators, Torp. And Torp talks about a lot of different things, amongst them the gig economy, but you know, within a context of he's a real person living a real life. He has a lovely wife that he spends time with, and he knows about cars. He enjoys a good beer and a good bit of sin here and there, like the rest of us. Anyway, like to introduce Torp. Torp, say hi to everyone, and go ahead. How would you introduce yourself in a couple minutes of what you do and why you do broadcasting?
Quite simple. YouTube is the only place I ever found where I can vent and I can't be interrupted. I think that's one of the biggest problems today with anybody talking in a big room, like any live stream. You hear a lot of yelling and screaming back and forth, a lot of name calling. They do that shit to kind of like rile people up. They want those comments. They get paid for that. They do. They get paid for that. They even get people to, throw them a couple bucks. You see that all the time, $2, and then the broadcast will like, thank you very much. And I've been watching that for over a decade, and I'm like, well, I guess that's them. That's not me. Because if I was here to get paid, man, I'd be, getting government cheese and looking somewhere in the store for where they take EBT, but I'm just here to vent. I don't give a shit about the money part of it on YouTube. If I did, you'd see it, but you don't see it, right? I like to vent. This is like a healthy dose of reality for me. And, like you see comments, you see subscribers go up and that kind of thing. Hey, let's face it, that doesn't suck. But at the same time, I remember when I first got on YouTube, my first 5 subscribers, I thought I was just like this holier than thou. I was like, I got 5 subscribers in 2005. And I was like, I am somebody. I had to remind myself, man, you don't know who's subscribing to you. But it did feel good. It did. It felt good. It was like, why would they subscribe to me? I'm just venting, So here we are. And I came across you. You kind of remind me in a small way. And I'll tell you what that small way is. There's a lot of guys and women on YouTube that have these massive channels. And you'll notice as they started off, you watched them. And as they grew, they started losing course. As they grew, they started saying what they knew people wanted to hear, what they were interested, like, and they sold out to it. And that's the theme that I've always stuck with. You've heard me talk about this. They sell out to it. And they get really pissed off when you say that. It's like, I ain't making that much money on YouTube. And it's like, well, then why are you running the ads? And by the way, you just got done bragging just a week ago. Not you, Jeff, but they just got done bragging a week ago. It's like, hey, man, like Pedro, for example, he's like, he's banking. And it's like, well, yeah, but look what he's doing after he banked. He's not Pedro anymore. I don't know who he is. I stopped watching. It's not the same guy. I watched him learn how to do YouTube, and he was very helpful. He got me started, and there was a lot of others that got me started. And then as soon as they got like all these subscribers and all these views, everything went black. It's like, what are you even talking about now? They went from YouTube is wonderful, here's how you do it, here's how you make the money, here's how you avoid the problems, to get off YouTube, find another round of income, do something else. You don't want to do this. This isn't full time, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, after all the buildup, you're going to tell me that? And that's when I realized in this community, the gig community, I was like, you got to watch who you're watching, man. It depends on why you're here. If you just want to learn how to be a millionaire, you might want to go read a book. You don't want to listen to these guys all the time. Not when they're switching it up like that. It's like, wait a minute, man, I just gave you 6 months of my life and you helped me out. Now you're telling me to get out? And that's why Pedro, he kind of gave me a clown face and he smiled at me. I'm like, he's smiling to the bank. I'm not smiling. I'm frowning. I'm like, dude, you really let me down. That's what I told him. You just let me down.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
still
kind of
going.
it's kind of a shift, right? From a shift from social media to paid advertising, and these guys, and so they went from kind of figuring out their way and finding an audience to finding that as the wages decreased for the gig economy, that the importance of the earnings from social media, particularly for YouTube, increased, and at some point, you know, they switched off, and it became important to get viewers, which there's nothing wrong with having viewers. Everybody wants to have people view their work, and nobody wants to work hard and have nobody consume their work, but with what we know today, and I want to talk about what we know today too. I think you agree. What we know what DoorDash is a lot more than we did 3 years ago during the pandemic, when a lot of us were doing this stuff and making more income from it. We didn't really know what DoorDash was in those early times, and it was a different time and a different market, because it was more of a necessary short-term, you know, demand in society because of the pandemic. And now the game has changed, where that demand has gone back to more normal levels, and that has given DoorDash and the other gig economy purveyors the opportunity to reduce the amount that they're paying for labor as well. So, I mean, one of the things, you talked about it today, is what's real, what's not real, what is just people waving their arms and making stuff up because they have to say something, and what's actually advice that somebody could use on their smartphone, in their car, in their market. Where do you see? I mean, DoorDash is obviously DoorDash is a gig application, so it's its own contained world that is run by AI. And so you talk a lot about glitches and a lot about the apps. I mean, where do you see DoorDash in terms of as a real market and as a fair provider of labor? I mean,
well, to me, that's an easy one. You're welcome to come in, and you're welcome to leave at any time you choose. Mm-hmm. That's the labor part. It's up to you to do what you want to do. If you don't agree with it, you get the fuck out. Bye. Nobody cares. You're not fired. You come back later if you change your mind. But while you're in it, if you like it, you got to deal with the madness. And there's a shit ton of madness. And I think it's on purpose. And I'll tell you why I say that. The best example I have is this. I went for the Top Dasher program, and I got it. Now, this is after a year of doing it, which I obviously, as you know, and a lot of other people know, everybody's a Top Dasher when they first sign on. You get to dash anytime. You're supposed to be prioritized, all that good stuff. But you lose it pretty fast when you don't know what you're doing. As soon as you watch YouTube, the first thing you learn is decline means nothing. You're not going to get fired. A lot of these new guys think they are. New guys, not these gig tubers. Everybody on here knows that. It's the ones that are watching that don't know it. So they watch these channels. You could decline. You could have 0% and be fine. You're still going to get orders. I didn't know that. So I used that information, and it did actually help. The problem is that once I lost Top Dasher and realized I had to schedule, I was like, well, shit, that sucks. And the reason it sucked was because every time the app glitches, sometimes it kicks you off. And then you got to wait to schedule, or wait till it turns pink on the map, or that kind of shit. And you're actually trying to make money. It's kind of hard to do when you can't dash, right? So in my market, it came up with Shop and Deliver, and the Shop and Deliver provides, in my market, I do 7 days. And if I keep a 95% fill rate in those 7 days, I get dash anytime for the next 7 days. The thing for me is I like Shop and Deliver because it pays more normally. So I started using that, which haven't heard a lot of people talk about. There's one person in this community that's the brash dasher that did talk about that. And it's not his bad, but he's also a top dasher. But he just happens to like Shop and Deliver. So to answer your question, like I just didn't, by the way, I kind of went side stream on that. is that what I like about DoorDash is I have the ability to make my own choice. That hasn't changed. Everything else has changed. The glitches have gotten worse. The algorithm is known to be different on a daily basis, not to mention a weekly or a monthly basis, but it's definitely different a lot. So when you hear these other gig tubers talk about it and they think they got it figured out, or they bitch about it on one end, and they have an argument with somebody else on the other end, what happens? Everybody's saying, no, man, you don't know what you're doing. You don't have any clue what you're doing. You don't do nothing. And it's like, this guy's in New York, that one's in Florida, that one's in Washington. You get the point. I'm like, dude, your algorithm wasn't set up for all 50 states, not to mention the entire world, but it wasn't set up for all 50 states. And it reads you differently than it does the guy that lives in your same county, and he's doing the same job. It's going to work different for him. And these guys go on and on and on about that. I'm like, did you hear what you just said? Because when I watch YouTube, I see your videos or your comments pop up more than I do some of the comments actually more. And why is that? Because I'm actually responding to your comments more. I like it. And that sends the trigger right there to YouTube. Same thing with DoorDash. They have a trigger. They see that I like doing the shop and delivers. So as soon as it gets slow in my market with food, which is 10 a.m. or 2 p.m., I generally go from about 7 to 4, 7 to 3. I'll notice that the grocery shopping deliveries pop up more when it slows down. They know I'm going to take them. Every once in a while, they throw me that bone that's already been chewed on. It's like, $7 for what? I'm like, oh, they know I need 7 at a 95% fill rate. And this is their opportunity to get me to do that, which they know I can, to get my fill rate, to keep Top Dasher for a week. I see what they're doing there. And I can't blame them. They're giving me an opportunity. Dude, you see my video, so I'm not going to hold back. It's like I told my wife, I have to suck DoorDash's dick a little bit, and then they suck my dick a little bit. It's a two-way street, man. This is not a situation where I'm just going to have them do it to me. It goes both ways. So, yeah, I got to throw them a bone once in a while. I'll go pick up 2 items for $7, take it 4 miles. I'm like, I normally wouldn't do that. They know I will at this particular time. So, boom, there it was. And I have noticed that. But then if I do those, I'll get the big ones. I'll get the power ones from time to time, $22 for 5 items, the same miles. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I think DoorDash's biggest thing is that they have more market share than anybody else. And all the people that I see in line, all the dashers or all the drivers that I see, they're all dashers. It used to be all split up. You see Grubhub on their phones, because I look at the phones, man. I want to see what's going on in my market. You can tell by the phone, it's Uber Eats, it's Grubhub. But now it's all DoorDash. They know that they have the market, but yet they're still allowing us to be on it, which I think is great, because I'm going to share this for the first time. I made a video about the red card. Not the red card, sorry. I keep doing that. About the Dasher Direct card, which I think is awesome, but I had a problem with it, right? The problem was pretty severe, in my opinion. I went to a gas station. I'll make this one short, I promise. I went to a gas station.
I shared that. I shared that story on Twitter. I shared your video on Twitter on that. But go ahead and tell people.
Right. So I went ahead and made the video, and it got so attention. It was fine. Whatever. I needed an event. And I lost, I think it was $42. The vendor, I don't know. I even looked it up by the number of the vendor, and it was someplace down in Tennessee. I'm in Kentucky. That's common knowledge. It's no big deal. I don't hide on YouTube. It's pointless. This is Google we're talking about. So I found the vendor or the merchant. It was in Tennessee, and I promise you, I've never been to Tennessee buying anything in that week. I've been to Tennessee last time a decade ago, so I'm like, oh, this sucks. I got the card out, and I'm like, I got to call. I got to get this fixed. There's no number. There's no number on the Dasher Direct card, period. Nothing. If you have one, you can look at it. Anybody listening to this can look at it. Well, that's a fucking bitch, ain't it? There is no number on this card. You got to contact Dasher support. Everybody's, no. Visa. You contact the distributor of the Visa. I did that. I actually found that number. They said, you have to contact Dasher support. They told me that too. I was like, oh shit. So I contact Dash support and they told me you have to be dashing to ask this question. I'm like, okay, that's stupid. Number one. So they said they'd call me back. They said I got in the chat. I started dashing on purpose, man.
Do you have to have a Happy Meal in your hand at the time to ask the question, though? Do you have to be holding a Happy Meal?
It literally asks you, you appear to be on a dash. I'm like, yeah, this is the best time to talk about a financial situation on a personal level when I'm on a dash.
Don't distract me. Yeah.
Right? So they said they'd call me, look for our call. First of all, you guys know what spam is. My phone rings nonstop. I just decline, because as you know, an Android you gotta have a special app to decline calls, and it doesn't even work. So I never got the call. They saw the video. DoorDash saw the video. I swear to God. I got the email, which I'm pretty sure if I shared that email, I might get deactivated, so I've never done it. But I got the email, and it said, we watched your video, and they had what was called a goodwill refund. I was like, what the hell's a goodwill? I thought, oh, that charge came from Goodwill, and they found it. No, it's called a goodwill refund. They refunded me the entire difference. I looked at my Dash and Direct account, and sure enough, it was there. But they gave me the link in the email to my video, and I was like, oh, man, they watching. They're watching.
I've commented this on your videos before that they've got social listening, and I have that in the book too. That these companies are very well aware of everything that's going on.
Oh yeah.
In the marketplace, and they know who's broadcasting. They know what the messages are, and this is one of the things that's absurd about, whether it's well, it doesn't matter who the content provider is, if they're pumping up any of the apps, any of the aggregation apps, DoorDash, whatever, any of those things that they're doing. We have to realize that in an artificial marketplace, that's essentially a type of collusion, because there is absolutely no way for us to know whether the results that they're showing us on camera are also biased by the company that they're producing, because none of this is organic. None of this is coming from a wider marketplace. This is little DoorDash world. And the only thing in DoorDash world is a bunch of DoorDashers, a whole bunch of consumers that have that app, and a whole bunch of restaurants that are logged on there, or brands that are logged on there. And so this is its own little ecosystem in DoorDash. And there's no freebies in an ecosystem. If you're getting it from one place, you're taking it from the other. It's a zero-sum game. And unfortunately, the way corporate AI set up is that the one that's going to pay the most and the most often is always the labor aspect, the Dasher aspect. But I mean, the thing that totally sucks though is that since it's not real, there's nothing we can really trust. So let's even talk about this Top Dasher thing. Top Dasher, Diamonds, Stars, any of these things. First of all, they tell us two different things. They tell us criteria for becoming any of these categories, yet they constantly hedge and change the criteria and gift the criteria and make things happen with magic wands that make no sense. So in essence, I would argue the criteria that they give us, we don't know that really exists. We just know that they told us that it exists. But there's no proof that there's actually some line in the sand which will or won't be crossed, because they wipe it out all the time, right? They change people's stats, and many Dashers have noted that, hey, I looked at these stats and they don't make any sense. And that's the other thing. There is no, if they tell you that a certain rate must be achieved or a certain whatever, this is not an organic world. They control all of it. So, I mean, if they want to, you use the term that you'd been gaslighted by the app. If they want to gaslight you, they can just send you 20 orders in a row that they know you're going to turn down, And then the 21st, they know that you're going to be so desperate that you'll take one that's lower than usual, but not quite as low as the 20 they just gaslighted you with. Right?
Yep.
Right. And
Dude,
so you know
dude,
what I'm saying is true. So
dude, you nailed it. That's
yes,
fact.
this
That's
is
fact.
right. And the fact is, but there is no DoorDash. This is computer AI that's doing this. There's no people pushing these buttons. This has just happened naturally, which means that every individual is a market of one who's getting their pants beat off. So
Have you ever noticed that when you like have a fantastic day, the time you start, you're like, how in the hell did I get a great order right off the bat? I mean, I just got slammed with a 1075 going 4 miles. This is supposed to be a diamond order, but it doesn't have the diamond because I'm not in it. I'm not holding that 50%. No. The answer is no. So I've tried it, and the answer is no. So I'm like, well, that's actually a high-paying order, as they would put it. And it actually is at that point. The whole day is like that. The next day sucks.
Mm-hmm.
The next day's good. The next day sucks. It's like, oh, yeah, that's an accident, right? Go fuck yourself. No, it's not.
There's no accident.
That is programmed. I'm supposed to be looking for orders that are that good from yesterday, and they're not happening today. So all this bullshit comes in. The next thing you know, one little decent order comes. I was like, well, I better grab it because it's been a sucky day. No, dude, it's not been a sucky day. It's been a sucky day for you. Other dashers are kicking it that it sucked for yesterday.
Right. And so a couple different things. I mean, number one, the amount of influence that any given dasher has on their outcome of the day is virtually nil. DoorDash, have you ever noticed that you can come out on different days, like almost to the cent, the same amount of earnings over a period of time, or how so DoorDash so the algorithm has a target that you're going to earn today, and you may think that you're being a rebel with the cause and fighting the system, but the algorithm, I mean, the artificial intelligence has the ultimate patience to craft. No matter which direction you zig or zag, it's still taking you to the moon, right? You're going from here to the moon. You go 100 miles left, 100 miles right, and kick and scream the whole way. You're still going to the moon. Nothing you did made any difference. And so
it doesn't, dude. I see why they say the Top Dasher program works. Because if you take 225, that's my base pay, my market. If you take 225 for 10 miles, which most people would say, douchebag. I get that because that's what I would say too. But at the same time, you do another one for $4 for 6 miles. It's like, oh, another douchebag move. Then all of a sudden you get the banger. It averages out. But I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. But yet they got me doing it. Because I don't take those orders, by the way. I don't. I'd rather sit and not burn gas and wait for the good ones. I'm still a pretty big advocate of cherry picking, to be honest with you. Well, not a bit. I'm a massive cherry picker. The only time I take the kind of a slightly bullshit order is when I'm like, you know what? It's a beautiful day. It's not that bad. They know that too. That's why they said it to me. It's like, we know the weather where you're at. You've already put in your vehicle to the app. We know what kind of gas mileage you're getting. I'll tell you what, man, that IG, or I'm sorry, the IA, it's more impressive than most people could recognize unless they dashed for over a year. It's like, how does this thing know? Because 6 hours from the start, it's great. The end sucks, or the start sucks and the end's great. It's like, eventually you pick up on that. You're like, oh, I see what you're doing here. And I do believe in the cap, by the way. Personally, I believe in it. They're going to fucking throttle you. I noticed that as soon as I get around $80, it's like, what the hell happened to the orders? Everything was busy. The map is purple. It's not just pink. It's freaking purple. And I'm like, where are the orders at? It's like, you've been throttled, brother. You're going to have to wait. They're not going to let you make that money that you're used to making that fast. You can't make $100 in an hour. They're not going to let you do it.
Remember that DoorDash is controlling both the supply and the demand for dashers at all times. So
all times.
So
all times.
So,
Yep.
so by definition, there, right? If they wanted you to make more money, they would just put 10% less dashers on the road tomorrow, and because you could handle that much more business than you handled today, or 20% more business than you handled today, they would do that. But that's not what they want, right? So what you have to realize is whatever you make is what they wanted you to make. And that's why, as you always say, you know, what works in my market doesn't work in somebody else's market. But my answer to you is the reason for that is because it's fraud, right? It's because they're gaming you, Torp, in a different way than they're gaming me in my market. They're gaming somebody else in a different way than they're gaming their market. And so there's two things. There's number one, if we're each being gamed individually and there is no, you know, all this is a corporate AI scam, then there's nothing legitimate or market-based about this as employment.
If they treated you and I the same way, their whole fucking system would fail. If they treated me and Pedro the same way, the whole market would fail. You get the point. Exactly. I agree with you.
If it was a legitimate market, it would fail. Right? That is exactly a point. So now the other thing that they do, though, is that because they can't have a legitimate market, they also use deception. They have a whole bunch of information when they send you an offer that they're not going to give you, because if they gave it to you, then you would make every offer be an economic winner. But what they force you to do is they force you to gamble. They send you enough where you got to go, well, I don't know, maybe this one, maybe that one, right?
You're right. So you're right.
That amplification, that they're making you desperate enough or gaslight enough that your work, your job, it's not, you're not working for them, but your independent contractor task has now been gamblified by corporate AI. So you don't know whether it's going to be high and low. And so what that does is that gives them the opportunity to do what you talked about before, which is the intermittent reinforcement. Now, as long as I give you a big banger every once in a while, you get all excited and your adrenaline gets up and the sun shines again. And then I can drag you for a whole bunch of shit in between. And then I can give you another banger, and I can keep you psychologically, number one, totally confused and bipolar, as you know, to use your words. They said I can just make you bipolar. And we've watched all these content creators on YouTube. And if you can watch a content creator for 45 minutes and watch them go through 25 different emotions, it's crazy, right?
Yes,
you watch them get excited, watch them get pissed off, then they'll get road rage, then they'll laugh, then they'll cry. I mean, it's like, holy crap, what are you doing to this person?
I see so many content creators on here, but now my favorite ones aren't so much the ones that you see me get drama filled with. They're the ones that are still smaller, that I really pay attention to, because I like to watch them go for top dasher and go for what they call a challenge, which is fine. I ain't knocking them. Not one little bit, I'm not knocking them. But they'll go for the challenge and say, I'm going to take every order today. Have you ever noticed the more small orders they take, the more small orders they get? And then they get those bangers. And it's like, well, and then they show you their earnings at the end of the shift, and they're the same fucking earnings when they cherry picked. They're always the same.
That's what I'm
saying. They're the same. They're like off by $20 either way, low or up. It's like
exactly. If you talk
that's
about,
that's why I like watching, because I know what that is. I see it.
Yeah. It makes it at the end of a group of orders, that their decision, you know, the accept or decline is almost worthless, because the AI controls everything that goes on there. Nothing is organic. And because they're hiding this from you, because they're gaming people, because they're making people that are looking for employment gamble in order to do their work, you know, my feeling is it's a highly unethical, you know,
there ain't no ethics in contracting.
Organized criminal enterprise in reality. Because
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Before I lose it, because I've had it for about 10 minutes, and you're carrying a great stream, so I didn't want to interrupt, because it's truly good. But my question for you is this. It's all AI. We know this. That's common knowledge, but it is AI. So who the hell watched my video? did the AI send my link to an actual person that watched that? Because an AI could have sent me that money back. I just don't think so. I think that somebody had to watch that video and listen
Yeah.
to it. Even though an AI could do that, let's face it, we're in that world now.
So it's in one of the chapters. I think it's in chapter 3 or 4 of the book. I'll look real quick, but there's platforms called social listening, and what social listening does is it's like in the old days, PR agencies used to have a clipping service where they would clip all the major papers from around the world and send literally physical clippings to your company going, here's where you were in the media all over the place. Well, so the
I got to pee, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I'll keep explaining it. So the social listening now is artificial intelligence that gathers from all social media, from YouTube comments, from Twitter, from all the different platforms, and it sends that to a marketing department for analysis. And there may be some things that cause flags for humans to look at it. And my guess is that in your case, that the situation was that because it involved the Dasher Direct card, I wrote about it, other people talked about it, the fact that you lost that money, something flagged a human to take action. I don't think that whole thing was carried through by AI because it's too small of a transaction. But give somebody credit for noticing and making it right at the end of the day.
What bothered me about that is that they're watching.
Oh, they're watching. That's what I said about the content creators. Whether it's Dashing Trader or YouTube or anyone else, you can make sure that if there's dashers getting thousands to tens of thousands of views that are influencing this multi-million person labor market of gig app laborers called dashers, you can bet that they're interested. I mean, think of it this way: how much energy did Starbucks and Amazon put into activities that would break union formation within Starbucks and Amazon, which is really low level labor for unionization, right? I mean, that's really transient, quick, in and out labor for a lot of people, as is the gig economy. But the fact is, look at the resources that they put into keeping that in general from being a successful venture. And then imagine, look at what DoorDash put into Prop 22 in California, and all the gig economies put in anytime there's legislation. And then imagine how much time and attention they spend on content creators and people that are branding DoorDash within the Dasher community. I'm guessing, they are not dumb people, and smart people would spend a lot of time understanding the comments and the issues of the gig app content creator community, because you guys influence especially a lot of newbies that, because there is no training from the companies, people go on the internet and they go, okay, well, who makes a video about going dashing? And so then the newbies come on here, and DoorDash knows that. DoorDash knows that you guys are the trainers. You guys are the culture. You guys have the de facto culture of DoorDash.
To speak on where you started from on this last point that you're making, that's the point that bothers me. Not yours, but the point of what DoorDash is doing is that, like Megan, I think I got her name right. You know who Megan is?
Yeah. And she was
that bugged me. That bugged me because so many people were offended and pissed off and retaliating. It's like, how could you get rid of her? She was a dasher. I'm like, I got a problem with that. And I made a video about it. I told Dashing Trader about it. I did. And I got all kinds of blasts for it, like I give a shit. But I was like, wait a minute. It does actually state that in the contract. You cannot mistreat the customer. And that's exactly what she did. She had a video. Her video is still live. Not live. It's still public. And it said she was in an apartment complex and the directions were jacked up. Hey, man, I'm sorry. That's part of the job. You got to figure that shit out. The directions were fucked up. The GPS was fucked up. The customer was being rude to her. I'm sorry. A whole 5 minutes of your life is going to be ruined. You still can't be rude to the customer. She called the customer a bitch. The customer called her a bitch, but the customer called her a bitch first. I'm like, drop that shit off. Call Dasher support. You don't call the customer a bitch back. And that's what she did. She was actually harassing a DoorDash customer. And then everybody's like, oh, I can't believe that happened to you. Oh, that's wrong. It's like, wait a minute. You go to Walmart, any place retail, any customer service establishment, you're rude to a customer, you're probably going to get the boot. And yet she was like all kinds of like cuddled and shit over that. And then she got this support from Dashing Traders like, man, look the way they treated her. I'm like, you're telling customers because they didn't tip that they're assholes. First of all, you don't have to take the non-tip orders. And she didn't have to be rude to that lady, but she was. So I'm like, what part of contract do you not understand? Independent contractors mean you can work when you want and you can take the jobs you want. Doesn't mean you get to be an asshole, be rude, and screw up their customer base. And it says it in the contract, all 15 million pages of it, but it's there. And I'm like, I just thought it was common knowledge anyway. You can't be rude to the customers. You got to treat them with kid hands, even if they're assholes.
Yeah. So
Duh. And then she got deactivated. I'm like, yes, of course she got deactivated. What is everybody missing? She made it live, put it on TikTok, put it on YouTube, and then she got this huge following about that's wrong. That's wrong. You're a great dasher. I'm like, a great dasher wouldn't be rude to a customer. How many customers was she rude to that she didn't there? Even one's too many. But how many did she not record?
right.
What
So
do you expect DoorDash to do? Say, well, first of all, we don't need a reason to deactivate you, but hey, guess what? You just gave us one. And now she's making gaming videos, and she's got about a third of the views that she did. And I'm sure that she's kind of like reaping what she sowed now. And don't get me, I don't have any game in what she gets or doesn't get out of life. I really don't. But I know this, when you're going to make a platform like she did, Megan Rising, and get that kind of subs, that kind of following, and run ads on YouTube, maybe you should lose a little common sense and say, all these people are watching, TikTok is watching, YouTube is watching, and DoorDash is watching. How far do I want to take this with a customer that's actually not mine? It's theirs. Just like
okay.
you can get a flag on YouTube. You can get flagged on YouTube. It's the same damn difference. She'll watch her language on YouTube, but she aired being rude to a customer on DoorDash. I'm like, nobody else, is anybody else seeing this? Of course you can't do that. I don't care if it's a W-2, a union job, DoorDash, Uber Eats. It's common knowledge. If you're going to do it, maybe you want to keep that one to yourself and not air it. Just that one in particular. She was too desperate for views. And that's what happens when you start making money on YouTube. That's why you got to watch who you're watching on YouTube. When they're running those ads, it's like the more drama, the better. It's like, yeah, but what kind of drama are we talking about here? Because you got like three swords facing you, and you're getting ready to walk in all three of them, and that's exactly what she did. I'm surprised she hasn't been flagged on YouTube. Honestly, I'm honestly surprised. Showing people how to get deactivated. That's what I would have called it.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I think, well, a lot of the controversy has come up over what is termed in DoorDash as tipping, which is a system that, as I've talked about many times, doesn't. It may be a tip of some type, but it's not the type of. It's not a tip as you would see in the real world. The dynamics of it, how it's positioned, how it's configured, how it's suggested, everything about it is different than a tip in the real world. You know, that has been, and I think that was the foundation too of a lot of I think some of Megan's displeasure and a lot of the other rivalry with customers that comes through DoorDash is that DoorDash has set up a system of a made to fail tipping system on top of a too low pay scale, so that basically it's a lose-lose proposition no matter what anybody does. And what they've done effectively is turn consumers and gig laborers against each other.
One thing they've done a very good job of is turning gig workers against each other. Isn't that interesting?
Well, yes, gig workers against each other and against consumers.
Look at drama on YouTube. I'm part of it, by the way. Look at the drama on YouTube. You have to admit, you don't have to, but no, you have to admit, the drama on YouTube outweighs, on DoorDash, it outweighs the drama on just about anything else. I think the reason being is because some of us are making a full-time real income on it. Others are part-time. They got less to lose, but everybody's still on the same page.
Well, and you've got some of the old timers that if I may say so, really jumped the shark this year.
I'll be honest with you, man. I don't know what DoorDash is going to do next. Nobody does. But I know that they're learning from it, because when they added this, being able to tip afterwards, I get those push notifications. Customer added $5 tip. Congratulations. Way to go. I'm like, when the hell did this start? That shit's real. It actually, I've been getting 1 out of 10 are doing that. I'm like, that's fine. That's great. I love it. But what more important is, I love the fact that DoorDash picked up. Maybe it is the drama that helped that out. It's like, wait a minute. Nobody can survive on $225, $250, $275, whatever the base pay is in their market. Nobody can do that. And they're losing drivers left and right, even though they're getting drivers left and right. But at some point, that revolving door, you know this to be a fact, a lot of these people are dropping it off at the wrong place. They're dropping off the wrong place. They're not checking the name on the bag. They're not worried about the drinks. And that's another story altogether, but I'll give you a hint on it. The app is so screwed up right now. I'm constantly getting drinks included, and there's no drinks. It says right there, add drink, no, but yet it says drink. So I could just see what a new driver would do. They'd be like talking to the merchant for 5-10 minutes. Where's the drink at? There's no drink. It says, well, here on the app, it says there is one. But if you read the items, it says add drink, no, thank you. And it's like, I'm not calling Dasher support. I'm not talking to the merchant. It says right there at the very word. If it's a good high tip, I will text the customer. At least I did in the beginning. It's like, did you order a drink? Because it says on here you didn't, but on my app it's showing drink and highlighted in like neon blue. Like, nope, no drink, but thank you. I'm like, that's what I thought. Took me a whole 30 seconds to get that done. I don't think new drivers would do that. They'd sit there and be nervous as hell they're going to screw it up. And now you got your time, you got your late, you got your, all that shit to worry about. And not to mention the fact that, as you put it just about a half hour ago, there's no education on this from DoorDash. There's no training video. They don't tell you squat about the app. If it glitches, they say there is no glitch.
It's almost like, and I would argue, they really don't care if you're successful or not, because they get paid either way.
They could give two shits.
Right. And so that's a real problem, right? Because one of the, we can talk about the people that have been doing this for a while and that maybe know some of the game, but since we know that people are constantly rotating in that are desperate for some kind of money, and are being taken advantage of, do you think this is a legitimate enterprise overall? If it takes, if it's essentially you need lots of gambling and money losing experience to do it well, if it can be done at all. I mean, do you think this is legitimate, since the people that are new and are coming in are getting no training, they're unsuccessful, a lot of them are losing money, a lot of them screw up their cars. I know you have the ability to fix and maintain your own cars, but most people don't have that. Is this fair? Is this a legitimate business enterprise?
not fair at all. And I think that goes along with the idea of being an independent contractor. Being an independent contractor is worse than being an independent business owner. Independent contractor means just that. You're an independent contractor. You're in partnership for the whole 20 minutes the owner is going to take. If you screw it up, you screw it up. It's not on them, it's on you. They just deactivate you, give the customer a refund, whatever. Meanwhile, you're out. There's nothing legitimate about that. What would be legitimate is if DoorDash itself set up a platform to where they said, we don't want anybody getting screwed up. We don't want to issue refunds. We could go from $225 base pay to $375 base pay instead of getting a refund. That would be legitimate for the customer. I thought the customer came first. Everybody says the Dasher's the one that gets screwed. I'm like, I haven't heard many people talk about this. The customer is also getting screwed when there's a refund issued. And the refund can be avoided. Instead of issuing a $30 refund, how about just give the Dasher another $1.50, $1.75, make that owner $5 for 5 miles. He takes it, and the drop off is good, and he gets another order while he's there to bring him back, or maybe in the same area. You just spent $1.75 for 2 million drivers, which is a lot of freaking money. But how much is a fucking refund for 30 million customers a day? That would be legitimate to look at it that way instead of saying, nope, 225. We got to watch out for our stockholders. They're going to get pissed off and pull out. It's like, what's more important, the stockholders or the God blessed customers? The customers, without them, we ain't got nothing to bitch about to begin with.
Well, so what are these? What are the customers right now? I mean, that's a question in and of itself. Is what are the customers, and what is the business? Because DoorDash is losing more per order than at any time in the last 10 years right now. So if they're still losing money on this last mile delivery market, what's the goal? And my argument is that the goal is running humans with gig apps, and I call it Appslavery. It's the ability to build a market, which they're doing right now with 65% market share in the US and about the same worldwide, where they are able to not just do last mile delivery, but you can use that technology to task any group of workers with any type of tasks, gamify it, gamblify it. This is, as you know, this is technology that is built specifically to exploit human frailties and the human mind. Everything that happens in DoorDash is designed to cause you to give it a behavior that's desired by the AI creator and that was targeted, right? That's everything that happens. So if they change the tipping procedure, or if they change a feature in the app, that's a test to see how you react. And that's why that's why people say, well, they're testing this in my area. They're testing this in my area. This app came in, and they never tell you what's going to come in or what's going to come out. You've never seen a business change so often as DoorDash's interface, right? It's constantly changing the rules and the games and the stars and the diamonds and the programs, because number one, none of it's real. But number two, it's constantly testing us like little lab rats to see which ones we respond to most advantageously for the company.
Let me bring this out to you for real. You've been watching my videos, you know me. I've been holding back just a hair, and that's about over with. And here it comes. DoorDash itself is losing money. Tony's a billionaire. Common knowledge. I don't know that Tony's too worried himself personally in his own personal life. Me, myself, I don't think he is. But his CEO, his president, his boards, all that stuff that he's got going on, because there's a whole shit ton going on behind the Wizard of Oz curtain. I think the problem here lies very simply with the fact that the stockholders, it's the shareholders, it's the investors. He knows, or one of them know, that it doesn't matter what any Dasher does, what they accept. What he knows is this is an immediate threat. if we do not present a profit to our shareholders, our investors, they're going to pull out. He's not worried about the next 5 years. He's not worried about 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. He's worried about the next quarter. I know what I said, the next month. I know that's four months. But they are like, we can't lose the investors. We'll figure this out after we keep them. This is a desperation move. The Diamond program, Top Dasher program, all the things that they're doing with the AI, that's all desperation, because he knows at the end of the day, if they lose any investors, it's going to be even worse than it is now. So whatever it takes short term to keep those 225s for 10 miles alive, it has to be done until further notice, no matter what. You and I have dashed. We're not the important ones. The customers, and I wish I could say different, aren't the important ones. The CEO, the vice president, the boardroom meetings, all the people that are code writers, they're not so much the important ones. It's the investors. It's the people put money in the company. That's where they're losing money. It's got to be a short-term goal they're going for. It's like, keep the investors, show a profit, we'll fix it later after we keep the money. That we need to keep the company going. I'm not sure I disagree with that. But at the same time, is it going to be a long-term destruction of what we now know as the market sharing holder of all the gig apps? There's got to be somebody up there that has a brain that says, this is great short-term, but what are we going to do in 25? We're going to get a new administration. The laws are going to change. The taxes are going to change. And they're already trying to change it to where gig apps are going to have to be called employees. I'm not gig apps. Gig workers are going to have to be called employees. So that means that Tony's going to have to start paying for mileage. That means that they're going to have to start paying whatever waitresses get paid. They have got to be shaking in their boots about that.
Well, I mean, so far, DoorDash has kept themselves apart from the rideshare companies in terms of really being under the wage scrutiny in the same way. But there's so much to unpack there. I mean, first of all, there really is not a profitable business model for last mile delivery, right? If you're going to have a human being drive a sedan to pick up a couple fast food lunches and take it to somebody's business, there's not going to be money to be made there. And
I need to ask you a question before it loses my mind. I'm sorry. This is where my ADD kicks in. But do you not believe that that has something to do? We have this new thing on the phone. I don't know if you have it in your market, but you can either get paid per order or paid per hour, which we both know the paid per hour thing is, that's bad business.
Right.
But I wonder if they structured that to test out how many people would be willing to do it, to see, because they're like worried. Because I noticed after the administration pulled this up and says, we need to, or the labor market, however you want to look at it, the labor force, the people that run the labor in this country said, we need to see this as employees. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Because now all of a sudden we got this on the app to where they're saying this much an hour. Even the Brash Dasher is making videos about that. He's going to start videos on that tomorrow. He's like, he's $13.50, I think it is, in his market. I'm like, oh.
So this is what this is, though.
Have to see how many people will actually go for it if it does go into effect by law to where we have to work by the hour, as we will be considered employees.
So here's the thing. If it came out to the same dollars in your pocket at the end of the day, both ways, would you care?
Only if my freedom was removed. If I have to accept, no, I just
nothing else was changed. Either way, you're being run by the same AI system. You know, the question is, you know, which which way isn't, it's not which way you want to get paid, it's which way you're going to make more money. So number one, they didn't design and they shouldn't call it get paid by the hour either. They should get paid by the minute, an hour at a time, right? It's get paid by the minute. You still get paid when you're on their active time, not when you're cooling your heels in the parking lot waiting for something to happen between orders, right? So between orders can be as long as,
because we both know an employee sitting there doing nothing still getting paid. So that's an interesting concept.
Right? Yeah, this isn't it. So they didn't create it so that you could be paid more. Number one, I think they created it first and foremost as a preemptive strike after the labor letter at the end of last year in November, when they said, that they recognize that the gig economy may have a lot of deceptive business practices, and they were questioning the employment status and everything else. I think DoorDash, being the geniuses that they are, and they're evil geniuses. They're evil, but they are geniuses. Being the evil geniuses that they are, I think they figured out, hey, if we preemptively strike, put an hourly option in there, and then we go, hey, we've already figured it out. We got an hourly option. You know what? The employees don't, the workers don't even like it. They like the big time gambling option. So, these guys, look, these guys, right. DoorDash hired somebody that used to work at the White House on the president's team, for their government relations leadership. These guys are not playing small ball. These guys are playing at the level where you get people that worked in the White House to represent you. They're not doing anything to lose. They're not doing anything to give away their position of power. And in fact, I mean, they've got 27 countries, 27 nations around the world that their hooks are in right now, and they plan to enslave every single one of them with their artificial intelligence. So, they're not missing any tricks here. So I absolutely believe, and I believe the same thing with this, tip after the fact. This is just another way to show people that that they can't win, so they might as well shut the hell up about it, because there's nothing that's going to happen in a price gouged market with anonymous labor that's going to drive better tipping behavior. I mean, tipping is religion in the United States. You got 50% of the people that believe in it, 50% of the people that don't. And they all want to fight about it, and nobody's ever going to change what they think about it, because the ones that don't believe in it all day long, and the ones that do believe in it all day long, and then it pits people against each other in this emotional ego challenge, and you know how good those go, right? Once egos get involved, everybody loses their noodle in about 5 minutes, right? As soon as you start challenging somebody's mama.
Do you know when I knew there was a problem with that, when it first hit me in reality, was when I started picking up stacks. Not only did my ratings go down, and I knew why, because one of the first ones I ever did, the customer was asking me where was I going, and I texted him back very kindly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you should be aware, it should be in the app that, and I say it like this because it's 50-50 true. It's true enough. It's 51 true. DoorDash had me pick up 2 orders. Let's face it, that's not a lie. It's not necessarily not. You know where I'm going with this. They had me pick up 2 orders. In other words, they wanted me to. I should have. They appreciate it. That's what they meant. That's what the offer was. They'd really like me to do that. So I told the customer that I was like, you should have been notified in the app that DoorDash has me on a stack. And they said, no, I was not notified. I'm like, and sure as shit, dude. Sure as shit. You don't know where your ratings come from, but sure as shit, dude. I got a 1 star. She was pissed, and that I didn't even want to drop that off, but I did. I didn't do anything bad, not whatsoever, but sure as shit, I got a 1 star. And I'm like, that's where you're right. Again, is that they're not worried about the driver. They got that order dropped off. And I'm disposable. And that pissed me off. So I stopped doing stacks for a good solid month. I brought it back a little bit. I kind of figured it might have been a glitch because that doesn't happen all the time. But I'm like, wait a minute. You're supposed to have excluded ratings. If it's late or whatever, you can see by the text. I was being very kind to the customer and I still got a 1 star. I did it exactly right. And by the way, I wouldn't bullshit you, Jeff. I was really on time with that. It was a very simple thing. Those 2 orders were smooth pickup, smooth drop off. Everything went very well. And I know that 1 star came in from that because she was pissed. When a customer asks you, where are you going? They can see you on the app. We all know this. I'm like, oh, fuck. What do you mean, where am I going? You're supposed to be notified. And I'm like, uh-oh, I see what's going on here. And why wasn't that excluded? Man, I must have 15 excludeds a week, which I'm grateful for. But at the same time, I'm like, y'all need to pick up the pace because if one slides through for a 1 star, the problem is customer ratings can get you deactivated. We all know this, common knowledge. It's like that's the brain fuck you were talking about. You didn't use those words, but that's what you're talking about, the manipulation. It's like, oh, I need to be more careful. It's like, no, it's not that I need to be more careful. It's that DoorDash needs to be more transparent. And if there's a problem, it shouldn't be on the driver when you know damn good and well they can read that shit, they can see that shit, record that shit. Here's the GPS. He was here, he was here, he was there, he was there. All in the time frame. This 1 star does not count. Customer was upset. They don't understand what happened. Maybe they don't know what a stack is. I don't know. But when you can get deactivated for it, that's the problem.
It's not just the deactivation either. It's being deactivated by ratings. I mean, the ratings really are completely and totally meaningless unless they were so low consistently that you were deactivated. Nobody reads it. They're not real. You don't know where they come from.
Dude, I'm still trying to figure out how anybody could get below a 4.2. It's beyond.
So it's basically meaningless. Nevertheless, I can tell you that, as somebody that's done it, it messes with your head that somebody could be such a complete and total asshole as to give somebody a 1-star rating when you know what you had to do your best to get them whatever you had to get them. It's an emotional slap in the face at the very least, and that's what a lot of DoorDash is. It's that it's so hard to get your rhythm because if it's not the traffic and the bad drivers, it's the waiting, it's the this, it's that, and it's a constant. I mean, it's amazing that we're even talking about $2.25. And I can say for the record, I've never accepted anything with $2.25 attached to it.
Amen. So far, 3,400 deliveries. I myself personally am proud of myself. I've never done it.
Yeah. So it used to be when I started, which was almost just about 3 years ago now, during the pandemic, that I started doing that, doing some DoorDash. And some of the first people I watched were Mike, your driver Mike, and I think Pedro, and a couple other people. And the conventional wisdom, there was a gal named Brandy that was doing some stuff then. The conventional wisdom was that you don't even accept an offer unless it's above $7.50. And people were kind of arguing, well, like my bottom line is $7, my bottom line is $7.50. And now people are showing that the regular offer is $2.25, and then you're supposed to cross your fingers that there's some type of tip going along with it. I mean, it's absurd.
I gotta say something there. Have you ever, dude? There are so many channels I watch. I'm sure you do too, but there are so many channels that I watch. I will watch. This boggles my mind. You will see somebody going for Top Dasher, right? And they complain nonstop about how bad their day is. It's just awful. It's terrible. It's just a terrible day. Their next video is, woohoo, acceptance rate does matter. I brought it up. And now I'm getting good orders. I'm like, and then the next video, maybe even a week later, oh my God, it's so slow. Dude, it's not slow. You've been played. You've been played. You took 2 days of garbage to get Top Dasher, and now all of a sudden, yeah, you're getting rewarded. Have you ever listened to the cherry pickers? They're saying the same thing. It's like,
right. So how is that a legitimate independent contractor using business if you trick people into bad contracts before you allow them to get good contracts? I mean, there is no, all of this is essentially a Ponzi scheme of getting a few people somewhere to benefit and then somehow getting them to continue to spin this as their mission down to people who are never going to benefit. And that's kind of reminds me of where the gig app community is right now, is that since they're all shrinking, since Lyft is circling the drain, none of them are making money. We're past the pandemic peak, and now they're able to. I mean, DoorDash even talks about in their quarterly report that they can now pay Dashers their Dasher all-in cost. Their cost of recruiting and compensating Dashers is going down because there's so many unemployed, low-skilled laborers out there that you know they can burn Dashers left and right, and there's still plenty of Dashers to come. So you know, how can this be a sustainable model when it's just a race to the bottom?
I give you that, man.
I mean, that's
interesting. I could see myself at a campfire with you, me and you having a beer and just talking and making sense and everybody else listening. Because what you just said, I was about to ask you about, but you asked me about it. It's real simple. Sustained with this would be simple. We worry about, I say this lightly, we worry about acceptance rate and we worry about on time. And we worry very little about customer ratings because that's the hardest one to bring down. We both know this. It can come down, but it's very hard to get below 4.2. In my opinion, the hardest one to sustain is the customer rating, and that's the most important one because the customer rating is the one that brings people back spending money. And DoorDash does not give us any fucks if we got a 5-star rating. I'm not talking about 5-star ratings. I mean, if it says 5.00, we don't get any better orders. We don't get any special treatment, but we should. It shouldn't be the acceptance rating, and that's the one they focus on. The acceptance rating is everything. And with everybody, it doesn't matter what channel you watch. Acceptance rating is the title of every video. This. And it's true. But how many people talk about customer rating? And that's what DoorDash should be focused on. If you are that good, you should be rewarded for being that good. The promotion shouldn't say $1.50 peak pay. It should say, since you got a 5-star rating, you're getting $1.50 more per every order that you deliver. And it's going to be $1 for everything 4.7, 4.6. I think that's a little bit low in my opinion. But you get the point. It's like, why don't we focus on the customer ratings? Isn't that what your shareholders and your investors want to see, is lots of customers? And the ones that you do have coming back, that's the customer rating. Dasher's doing a great job. Support them.
If DoorDash cared about any of those things, they would invest in those things. And they don't spend a penny on any of those things because they don't care.
Isn't it funny, though, that you hear people on YouTube talking about, like me, talking about this. They won't tell you what the 1 star is for, that we can't improve it. I thought that was a dead giveaway because it's unanimous across the board. It's universal. They will not tell you unless it's a 5-star and the customer leaves a comment. You know how that works. Above and beyond, you can do those. I'm
So
like,
it's
great.
like everything else in DoorDash. When they're hiding the pertinent information from you, the
Hiding.
information that they're giving you is worthless. They're hiding the if I tell you, if I tell you you've got 10 ratings and one of them's a 1 star, and I don't tell you which one it is, you can't ever learn anything from it. There's no possibility for you to link anything good or bad that you did to any of the results. And that's what DoorDash does. And that's because this is a
Brain,
game world. They don't really care.
it's brain fuck 101. Let them
Yeah.
know when they're great, but when you know that they're getting all miserable, screwing them up on the road, demotivating them, and that 1 star shows up, the rating goes down. Don't tell them why. Just let them dwell in it.
Well, look, the fact that you have zero gig security and could be uh, taken, the access to the app could be taken away from you for any or no reason at all, with no recourse whatsoever. That's a lot of leverage, right? I mean, this is the corporate psychopath taken to its most gratuitous extreme, right? This is corporate AI, like DoorDash uses to run the Dasher app, can exploit every human being individually and make millions of predictions a second about what's going to happen next, such that a human has the illusion that they're going out and making decisions and having a day and accepting and declining orders, when in fact nothing that they did other than leaving the house and logging out made any difference whatsoever, right? That whatever they were going to have, this type of day that is granted by the app. And so one of the problems there too is it's inherently discriminatory, right? You don't know, you're told that diamonds or programs mean something, but for all you know, how do you know that they're not giving a 20% premium to all the dashers in your market that are in their first week because they want to get them addicted and convince them that it's a good money earning opportunity? How do you know that they're not? You have no idea. None of us have any idea, because it's not a real market,
There's no way.
how any given dasher or category of dashers is incentivized versus the other. And we all know the thing too, where we would have friends and family say, well, are you going out because it's dinner time and it's going to be busy? Well, dinner time is busy for restaurants. Dinner time is not necessarily busy for a dasher, because DoorDash can make you busy or make you not busy at any given time. And what you find, and what people find, is that this idea of trying to, quote, understand their local market for DoorDashing is just a matter of reading the tea leaves of how is the app working compared to the restaurants, compared to the other dashers, whatever else. None of it's a market that can be understood, but it's kind of like Pokemon Go. It's a game that's played in the real. It's a video game, but it's played in the real world. But you're not scoring. You're not scoring points for God. You're scoring points for Pokemon, right? You're not the DoorDash points, the stars and the dash and the status and the top dasher and diamonds. That's all an illusion. And the way I can prove that it's illusion is that you could never show me on paper the exact criteria at which DoorDash cuts off any of these programs, because it doesn't exist. This is all just kind of a malleable illusion that they put in. And I'm sure you've looked at your apps and seen stats change when you didn't change anything or whatever else. I mean, DoorDash, there's nothing in the DoorDash Dasher app that is real world applicable, that's not rigged and not gamed for you to consume. And so, whatever you're looking at, however you're interpreting it, it's not real. And I don't think people really understand that. And they don't understand that if DoorDash wanted to change that and wanted the glitches not to be there, or wanted something to be better, a better experience, better support, better training, better anything. DoorDash has the resources to make anything better that they want to be better. And if it's not better, it's because they don't want it to be. So that's kind of that's where I get really stuck is for people to understand how corrupt this thing is.
Have you ever noticed that a lot of the glitches that happen on DoorDash, and the way I can prove this, just listen to the videos on YouTube. A lot of people talk about different app glitches. I've experienced as many as anybody else, if not more. It's an opinion-based thing, but they're there. All these app glitches. But I've noticed these app glitches come up when you're trying to succeed, when you're trying to do something. Those app glitches, I think, are part of the brain fuck, because I don't think the app is actually glitching for everybody. And I've always thought that was interesting, because I go on YouTube's, or I'll go on Is DoorDash Down? That's my favorite website to check. Is like, the only time it seems to be universal is when you see the app is actually down. Even the customers are complaining. They can't order, their payment won't go through, Dashers aren't seeing the offer screen. It's actually down. But when you get those stupid little glitches, it's like,
okay, so
it's on you. This is on my phone at the moment. And you say, is it my phone? Do I need to restart it and reinstall the app? Or what's, and it's like, wait a minute.
No, they talked about this in their engineering talks, that they can slow down the system. They can just increase the latency in the system. Number one, they can do a number of things to slow it down. Imagine this. So I take all the Dashers on the road, and the AI also it self tests. So it's constantly testing for different reactions in the driver base. And the driver base is the big variable, right? Because the more they can push the cost of delivery down, the more money they make. The cost of delivery that's a pass through for DoorDash. DoorDash makes no money on deliveries. They don't care about it. They want it minimized at all times, which is why Dasher wages are always pushed down, right? Because it does nothing for DoorDash. All it does is cost them business, because they get a percentage of the sale, both from the merchant and from the consumer. So they're getting paid by everybody but a Dasher. And so the Dasher is DoorDash's worst enemy, which is one of the real problems with the gig economy, is that it's set up for the corporate to be your opponent, not your partner. DoorDash is the opponent of Dashers. People don't realize that. Now, I've never said it that way before, but it really is. It is your opponent. And since it's AI, it's going to beat your pants off every time. Sorry to tell you. It's just going to pants you every day.
Speaking on that, I noticed something. Speaking on what you just said. Once I got into the shop and deliver, they see, or the AI sees, that I'm interested in keeping Dash anytime. And then apparently, from what the AI sees, is that I like to do shop and delivers. The more of those I do, brother, the more my Dash ends on its own. You know what that means, right? If it Dash ends on its own, I can get right back on. So it's making me believe that if I don't keep Dash anytime, I'm going to keep losing my Dashes. I won't be able to get back on. So it's very important that I keep that Dash anytime.
The only rule,
shop and delivers. It never happened.
The only rule is there are no rules.
You know what I'm saying?
The rule is there are no rules.
It's never stopped since I became top Dasher for shop and delivers. It's never stopped. I get cut off constantly, and that's been going on for the last 4 months, but it never happened before that.
So this is the scary thing, right? Because the government has never been good at managing corporations. Corporations can literally get away with and have gotten away with murder for decades, right, before the government catches up with them. Now, if they couldn't keep up with regular corporations, what do you think they can do with corporate AI? Nothing. Absolutely freaking nothing. Because this is black box AI. There's nothing to inspect, right? A corporate inspector, the most they can do is go like, how's this thing work? And they go, we don't know. And they go, can you explain it to us? And they go, no. And they go, okay. But it runs all these people, right? I mean, that is what corporate AI is. And that's why it's so scary, is that you and I could talk till the end of time, and all these other bullshitters on YouTube that are content creators can talk till the end of time about what DoorDash and Uber and Lyft and everything are, but not one of us know. It's not even knowable. What we do know is that we're being gamed, and that AI is beating our pants off, and that the gig economy is a giant fucking fraud. Those things we know. Now, I've earned income to survive off the gig economy. You've earned it off the gig economy. So, it's taken a place in the world for this period of time. Is it a long-term part of our world? I don't think so, for the reasons we talked about. Number one, it's fraudulent, right? And there's too many people that lose in the gambling game for the people that win in the gambling game. But number two, it's unless that fraudulent element of app slavery and controlling people and using that technology around the world expands beyond delivery and beyond tasks into other things, there's no profit to be made. These are subsidized, money-losing markets that DoorDash is investing in right now. So it has to be investing more in the AI and the technology of human management and what I call app slavery than it does delivering Happy Meals. Because, delivering Happy Meals, as you see in the advertising, DoorDash advertises a lot with brown kids of color on bicycles, on scooters. They're recognizing the fact that a person in a car, it might just be too expensive for a person with a vehicle to deliver DoorDash in the future. And their future model is going to be, immigrant kids, migrant laborers, those kind of people riding bikes, riding scooters, stuff that, the people that are in the gig economy right now, who probably used to be middle class before we all sunk into whatever we are now. It's DoorDash is really lowering the bar for what dashing is. She said, because it's not supportable with a capable worker driving a vehicle around to deliver people's lunch. It's just not a viable business model, and it never has been. Which is why before the pandemic, 99% of retailers and 85% of restaurants never had food delivery prior to the pandemic. The pandemic changed that, but now we're going back because the technology was there before 3 years ago. If everybody needed home delivery for tennis balls and dog toys, that would have been there. Then the economy would have figured out that home delivery for tennis balls and dog toys was needed in the year 2000 too. We had cars then. We had things people could have delivered, but really delivery for restaurants was segmented to pizza, to maybe a few other things, because it wasn't really economically viable. And the fact that these companies made a scam out of it with the gig economy is the fact that they made a scam out of it. You said it yourself. So Tony Hsiu and the other three guys that started DoorDash made a couple $2 billion each as founders. Do they really care if DoorDash is successful now? No, they're set for life. If DoorDash, the corporation, does well or doesn't do well or last, they have some investment in this, but Tony Hsiu is now the CEO of DoorDash. He's on the board of directors for Meta, for Facebook. He's on Shark. He's a pop culture figure on Shark Tank, ABC. They've changed the world with their scam, but the world is also going to find out that, it's a predatory scam, because it's what it is. Go ahead, Torp. What do you think?
No, I was listening. It's just, oh my God, I didn't know that. I knew a little bit about Shark Tank, but I didn't know about the rest of it. The reason I didn't know about the rest of it was because I know that Tony is legally bound to show a profit. We both know that. He is legally bound to his investors. All of them are.
Profit's a strange one, though.
but he's not showing a profit.
No.
With your point, he's not showing a profit, and it's been a long time. So why is he?
And they're not only not showing a profit, but they're actually losing money per order. So you have to ask yourself, following the money, since they're investing, the reason that they're not showing profits is they're investing heavily in buying foreign markets. Right? When they acquired this Volt Enterprises, which was 23 more nations to add to the 4 that they already had. And so now, DoorDash is trying to get this global grift out there with corporate AI before everybody figures out what a scam it is. And here's one of the things that I think of you in this analogy, because I know you're into cars and you're a mechanic. And one of the things that I just can't understand about the world in general and the acceptance of this gig economy is that deception is so key in it, whether it's rideshare, not telling drivers, where they're taking their ride, where they're actually driving to and where they're dropping people off at. For DoorDash, they don't give the full information about tips. They don't give the full information about mileage. There's all different kinds of pertinent data withheld from every one of these gig app companies. How can it be a legitimate independent contract with you, an independent contractor, if I don't tell you the truth about what it is? If I sold you a car and I took off and you got in and turned the key and there was no engine in the car and the key just spun around and you open up the hood, there's no engine. Is that a valid sale? I would say that I withheld material information about this car in our sales agreement, and all of these applications base their independent contractor offers on the fact that they withhold material information, because if they didn't, the system wouldn't work, right? If they were honest, the system wouldn't work. If there wasn't fraud, the system wouldn't work. And so to me, this is the part that's just, it's the game stopper. We don't even need to go to step 2. If DoorDash can't actually tell you the amount of money that you're going to make per hour and per mile driven after expenses, so that if you're actually making money on a given offer or losing money on a given offer, then it's not a real contract, because no sensible person would sign a contract that they'd lose money on. You would say, no, I'm losing money on this contract. I'm not going to buy this car for $10,000 that has no engine in it. I will not buy this car. And so, but in the gig economy, somehow we rationalized that since it's a bunch of rubes running around with cell phones, that we can just lie to them, trick them into taking stuff, and then they have to deal with the shit. All the risk is on them. How does that work?
I think the point that you made was probably the clearest. If you're going to state whatever market that you're in, like if it's $11.50 an hour, $13.50 an hour, whatever it is, if you do the hourly thing and it's not that much, how are they getting away with that? Because we all know, like you said in the beginning, about 45, 50 minutes ago, it's not by the hour, it's by the minute.
But see, that's how they get away with it is, number one, there are no rules. So they just make up something and they present it to the regulators and go, here's what we're going to do. That doesn't, and the regulators go, oh, there's no rules about these things. Okay. So, so imagine, even if they put up the rate, they don't tell you how that rate is being calculated, that it's only being calculated in a specific subset of time, right?
How can you say that this is how much you're going to make an hour, but they're not going to explain to you how that hour works?
Because the gig economy is entirely a scam. There is nothing about it that's legitimate. There's nothing about it that here's one of the things that was really funny. I went on a lot of the different boards because I wanted to talk to different Dashers and understand, and go on Discord or whatever, and to the Dasher platforms. And time after time, Dashers would say to me, well, they wouldn't be allowed to do it if it wasn't legal. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, they would. People do all kinds of stuff that isn't legal. They just haven't been caught yet, right? to me, this entire enterprise has been fraud from start to finish. They just haven't been caught yet. There's plenty of frauds that go on for a decade or two before they get caught. And you know, the fact is, Tony Hsieh and the top investors and everything, all of these folks know that this is a corporate AI scam, that these are artificial markets, that none of this is real, that these ghost restaurants are a scam, that they're deceiving labor in every single offer that they make, that they're gouging consumers, that they're fleecing merchants and restaurants. They know all these things, but there's nobody to catch them. I mean, right now, in a world that's struggling, the gig economy, you know, I mean, these guys are doing Super Bowl commercials. They're pop culture now, and they want to keep it that way because they want people to believe that because it's here, it deserves to be here, and it should be here, and it should stay. And you know, I think in general and in specific, the gig economy is a nasty crime against humanity for the most part, because too many people are victimized by it. And even if there are some winners out there, even if Pedro DoorDash San Diego is a DoorDash winner, or even if Mr. Flex is a DoorDash winner, that doesn't make up for all the people that got scammed and that ruined their vehicles and that lost money slaving for an international corporation that's taking advantage of them. I mean, I think
I got a question for you after all that.
Yeah.
Why the fuck have you never made a YouTube video like that?
Oh, saying the stuff that I'm saying now?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of have. I mean, I'm working on the booking stuff, but it's still in an early. I haven't really gone out to.
No, not a book. Why haven't you made a video like that?
I don't know. I think I have. Maybe, I don't know. Which part? Which part should I do?
Oh, since about an hour and 40 seconds ago. You made some points.
Well, I mean this is something.
I'm trying to find something to argue with you with, but you haven't given me one yet.
Well, no, yeah. Well, sure, I have a little bit of an advantage, right? That I know you a little bit better than you know me, because I've watched you speak for a few hours. You haven't.
Why the hell would you not post something like that?
Well, I mean, I'm working on it. You know, it's a hard message to tell because it's the message that is counterintuitive to our human experience, right? Our human experience tells us all the things that we see are what we can believe in, and that's not really the case anymore.
You're probably the most intelligible person I've heard speak on this matter.
Well, thank you. Well, I really wanted to talk to you because for two reasons. Number one, you're always funny, you're always interesting, and as I told you before, dude, I would watch you do a video on mowing the lawn, and I may someday. But number two, the thing. So you have a very classic work ethic, but you've always been very pro DoorDash in terms of, look, I like to work, I need to work. This is an opportunity for me to work, and I take it seriously. And so, you know, I like that fact too because you know your focus has been on this as work, and also because of that, you don't make a lot of excuses or take a lot of excuses for what goes on there. In fact, a lot of times I think you're way too accountable for what goes on. Like I see you blame yourself for stuff and I go, oh, hell no. You're not allowed to take the blame on that one, buddy. DoorDash just screwed you into the ground and you're going, well, I woulda, shoulda, coulda. No way, man. So
not bad.
So I always think that's interesting. And we'll talk again. I know I've been hounding you because I saw you let go of a really good one about three or 4 days ago. Or maybe it was last week. I don't know. You put out a video where you were just on fire about all the bullshit that was going on, and I just thought I got to talk to Torp. I got to get you on, and I would say on my Twitter, you have a lot of fans. I have posted many of your videos on Twitter, and people enjoy that. So we will absolutely talk again. I know you have that Torpino account or whatever, but it's old.
Damn, dude, you ain't no joke.
Yeah, I've done my homework. I've been working on this for like 3 years. It's probably that's a long time.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, I see that. Yeah, a long time ago. How long?
What's that? How long have I been doing this?
No, no, you said I seen that a long time ago. I asked you how long. Transparency, remember?
Oh no, no. How long have I been what?
How long did you know about the Torpedo account?
Oh, how long have I known about? Oh, only. Sorry, I didn't understand. Only a couple months.
Oh, yeah.
I always look. You know, it's so funny because most YouTube creators they maybe had one at one time, but it's not active. And I found yours, and yours was old. I think I teased you about it. I thought maybe I pissed you off, but I didn't think that was really possible because
No.
I think you looked pretty stylish with even more hair then. You were looking pretty. You're looking pretty badass in the Torpino picture.
Fucking me up. That shit's cool, man. I like that. That's I wasn't ready for that.
Ah,
I
throwback.
as I like to put it, you actually sat in the front row.
Yeah, yeah.
No shit. Huh?
I sat
You
in the
know
front
what?
row.
You know, obviously I've been sitting in the front row or I would not be here. So there's that.
It helps us pay attention sometimes. Well,
I just
Torp,
been looking at videos. Yeah, no, you got to roll. I get it. It's
yeah,
good.
well, hey, thank you so much for the conversation. I hope people enjoy it, and I look forward to talking to you more soon. I really, I'm really interested as maybe you look at some of these things a different way. How your view of DoorDash will change after our talk, and how you'll start to think of some things maybe a little bit differently too. Because I mean, I'll tell you as before we wrap up, and I've made this point to people in the 2 years and 5,521 dashes that I did. So that's not a short amount of time. That's not a small amount of deliveries. I did not. I knew I was being manipulated, but I didn't know what I know now after the last 9 months of researching DoorDash and artificial intelligence and the operations and all that stuff. So, there's a process that I went through too, where it was like every day, my eyes would pop out. I go, holy shit, you know, I cannot believe what these guys just said, because each of us gets a view of the world from the perception and the perspective that we sit in. So if you're a dasher and you're holding a smartphone and doing DoorDash from that end, you really don't have a very big picture of how DoorDash actually works. And even if you know you're being gamed, it's very difficult to know exactly how. And the human brain wants to put that together and makes narratives, and we make stories about things being good and things being bad, and whether we were stupid or whether we were smart. We make all that shit up. None of it's real, but we make it up in our head, right? None of it's real, but we make a good story for ourselves.
Dude, you are fucking me up. That is so good. Honestly, it's gonna be hard for me to make a video again knowing you're watching.
I'm a fan, man. I'm a big.
Real short at the very end of this. I'm glad I keep it real because that's all I can do now is just keep it real. Whether you agree with it or not, that's all I can do. And
Yeah.
I hope you're there with me. And if you're not, I get that too. But after, dude, I ain't been educated like that in a long time on YouTube. You could be one of the best trolls to get me off this. I mean, seriously, if you were a troll, I'd be done. There's this guy named Red on the lounge, Mr. Flex.
Oh,
And
is that the cherry guy?
yeah, he thought he had, not Red, Cherry.
Oh, that guy's
And
a buffoon.
he's like, I'm going to fuck your wife. And I was up like, dude, seriously, you know how many? No, I've been around too long. As DoorDash Revolution would put it, I'm like an OG, which I don't say I'm an OG, but that's what he called me. I was like, I get the sentiment. But then you come along, and I picture you as a troll, and I'd be like, I don't even know what the damn that's fucked up. I ain't been fucked. The first time I got fucked up was my last one. I knew how to avoid it, but with you, I don't think I could, man. You got too much game. No, I mean that in a good way. You got too much game. You're actually educated. You actually you're eloquent. You make your point, and that's probably the first time I listened to another gig. Well, you are a creator. You got a channel, or anybody in the gig world that actually kept my attention for 147.48 or 141.48. I'll be honest with you, that's not easy to do. So kudos to you for having me on here. Get your ass to sleep.
It was a pleasure, man. And I will be in touch. I'm glad we got each other's emails now, and we'll stay in touch. And I want to talk again as you process more of this stuff, because this is, we're still early in the game. There's a lot more to go.
P.S. One last statement for anybody listening, wherever this gets shared to. If anybody wants me off YouTube, have Jeff troll me. I'm out.
All right. Thank you, everybody. This has been episode 13 of the Full Dashclosure audiobook and podcast with my new friend Torp. And we're out.